Here are your solutions to the letter problems for section 4-2. First thing they ask you to do is to express this relation as a table and then as a graph. So the first part of that is really quite easy. We're going to place these values as coordinate pairs into the table. So obviously we're going to have -5, 2, 3, -1, etc. Then the next thing we're going to do is plot the points on the graph. So we start at -5. We're going to move from the origin out. We're going to move from the origin out to -5 and then up to +2. So that would put a point right here. And then we would do the same thing, of course, move out to 3 and down to -1. Now this is going to get hard to see, so we're going to do this the easy way and look at it like this. We have the point, I should say the relation, -5, +2. That gives us an input x of -5 and output y of +2. And when we plot that, we're going to go to -5, +2. There's that point there. And then we can do the same thing with 3, -1, 3, -1. And we're going to go to 3 and then down to -1 here. +6, +2 is right here. +6 and up to +2 is here. And then 1, 7 is here. And we're going to move over to 1 and up to 7 here. So we have all of our points. Now the next thing we needed to do is then state the domain and the range. Remember, the domain is always your set of x values, and we're going to put them in order from least to greatest. So the least would be -5, and that shows right here. Then out of these three values, the least would be 1, so that's next, and then of course 3 and 6. We then would do the same thing with the range, which is our output, or in this case our y values. Again, the least is -1 right here. There's our answer. We have a pair of 2's, but we just show it once, and then our last value, of course, is 7. Now let's take a look at letters B and C. We have a problem here that says the movie rental storage charges $3.95 per movie rental. So our unit rate is $3.95 per movie. So that is going to be our slope in our equation. Make a table of ordered pairs in which the x-coordinate represents the number of movies, so the input is going to be movies, so it's going to be $3.95, or 3.95 times m is going to give us our output. X-coordinate represents the number of movies rented, that's the input, and the y-coordinate represents the total cost for 1, 2, 3, or 4 movies. So the output is cost. So I would say that this is C, and our input is M. So we need to have a X unit of measure here, and that's going to be movies. You could say number of movies. And this, of course, is going to be our cost. I'm just going to put a $sign. So once again, I'm going to switch to the easiest way to show you this now that we understand. Actually, I'll show you one here first. They asked us to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are our inputs, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to take 1 and multiply it by $3.95 and get 3.95. And then we're going to do 2, etc. And here are your solutions. As we talked about, this is our cost in dollars. On our x-axis, we have the number of movies rented. We put in our inputs of 1 through 4, multiplied it by 3.95 in every case, and we get 3.95 and then 7.90, etc. So then we graph 1 and 3.95, 2 and 7.9, 3 and 11.85, and 4 and 15.8. And we have our graph. So back to what they asked us to do. They asked us to make a table of ordered pairs. We did it. And then to graph those ordered pairs, which is exactly what we did here. Please do guided practice. Here are your solutions to guided practice, section 4-2. First of all, we're asked to express each relation, and we're going to do it as a table, and then we're going to do it as a graph, and then lastly, we are going to state the domain and the range. First thing we need to do, we're actually going to kind of do this in reverse order. We're going to do the domain, and that is going to be all of our x values, so we're going to look here, 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 and here. Find the least, which is -4. The next least would be -3, followed by 0 and 2. Don't forget to put your brackets around your domain and range. And then for the range, we're going to use the y values. The y values would be 3, 1, 3, and -2. And our first would be -2, followed by 1, and then 3. Again, domain and range are really quite simple. It is a matter of domain are our x values, and range would be the y values. For our first set of values, we would have x -4, this one here we're doing, and y of 3. Then we would have 2, 1, 0, 3, and -3, -2. Now I'm going to once again switch to doing this the easy way. Again, notice that we had our domain and range exactly like I just explained. Then we have these values here. And now when we're going to plot -4, +3, we start at 0, go to -4, and up to +3, and we have this point here. And then we plot the point 2, 1, 2 on the x, y on the y, 1 on the y. Next we move 0 on the x-axis and then up to 3 on the y. Lastly, we move to -3 on the x-axis and then down to -2. So those are our points there. Additionally, we could move over to the next one. Recognize that we have x values of 5, -4, 2, and 3. And putting those in order here, we would have -4 first, followed by 2, 3, 5. Then we could switch to our y values of 3, 1, -5, and -4. They constitute our range. The lowest would be -4, followed by -5, followed by -4, 1, and then 3. So here's our range. Additionally, we could put each of these relations into the table. We would have 5, 3, -4, 1, 2, -5, and then 3, -4. And again, we could plot those points here. We'll verify that these are correct. We could move to +5 and then up to 3. That would put us here. Go -4 and then up to 1 would put us there. On the x value, move to +2, but then down to -5 would put us here. And +3 and then down to -4 would put us there. So that is your solution to problem number 2. Now let's take a look at problem number 3. At a vacation resort, you can rent the personal watercraft for $20 per hour. So immediately we ought to be thinking about the fact that our slope, or m, is going to equal 20. Make a table of ordered pairs in which the x-coordinate represents the number of hours, so I'm going to mark that as hours, and the y-coordinate represents the total cost, so I'm going to mark that C, and they want us to do it for 1, 2, 3, and 4 hours. So again, our output is C, so cost equals our input of H times our slope of 20, so it's 20H. So in other words, we're going to multiply 1 times 20, get 20. 2 times 20 is 40, 60, and 80. Again, our X is always our input, which in this case is hours. Our Y is always our output, which is cost, and we're going to do this in dollars, so it's like this. And then we're going to graph our ordered pairs. And our first ordered pair is 120, so we're going to move from 0 up to 1, and then up to 20. We have a point here. And then we're going to continue to plot the points. We're going to have one at 240, one at 360, and one at 480. And you can see we have a nice straight line here that if we chose to, we could put a line and graph our line. So let's take a look at what they asked us to do. They asked us to make a table of ordered pairs. We have it. And then they asked us to graph those ordered pairs, which we did. In a real neat format, this is what it should look like. Lastly, we have our essential question. How do tables and graphs represent relations? Again, I'm going to take the easy way out and just show my answers here. One answer might be set of ordered pairs, first of all, is a relation. That's what a relation is, a set of ordered pairs. Okay? They can be represented by a table with a column for x values and a column for y values. Instead of saying x and y values, I would like you to start thinking of input and output. I think it's a good way to take a look at this because, as I've said multiple times in this unit, it's time now to start switching from always thinking of X and Y. Sometimes C for cost or H for hours makes more sense and makes the data more relevant to you. And then lastly, the ordered pairs can also be graphed on a coordinate plane. Once you have inputs and outputs, or X and Y values, you can graph them on a coordinate plane using points like 0 and -5. Please do independent practice.